So today I'm going to be watching this video. Someone recommended it to me and I thought it seemed like a very interesting title for a video. Norwegian Sesame Street was insane. So yeah, I obviously didn't know Norway had its own Sesame Street. I didn't know there was other regional variances of Sesame Street. So interested to see what Norwegian Sesame Street is like, why it was insane. Tell me if you've ever seen it before. Yeah, let's learn about it.
On November 10th, 1969, the children's series Sesame Street premiered on PBS in the United States. It became incredibly popular, and soon its influence started to reach beyond America's borders. Over the years, a large number of international co-productions of Sesame Street has been produced. This video will focus on just one such co-production, the Norwegian Sesam Stasjon.
Sesam Stasjon. Oh. I mean, even the train looks a bit like an acid trip train.
In 1987, the head of programming for the Norwegian Broadcasting Corporation, NRK, at the time Ada Haug, approached the production company for Sesame Street, the children's television workshop, about the possibility of making a Norwegian version of Sesame Street. By 1989, an agreement had been made. Ada Haug appointed producers Grete Høyen and Herman Gran to head the series, along with writer Eivind Skeie, and told them to make the show as Norwegian as possible. Unlike most international versions of Sesame Street, it was decided that the Norwegian show would not be set in a city street, but rather a small train station near an unnamed Norwegian town. This could be mostly to keep the name similar to Sesame Street. The Norwegian word gate would not fit as well into the title as stasjon, the Norwegian word for station. But the change also served to be more inclusive to a larger number of Norwegian children. Norway is quite large geographically, but with a relatively small population scattered over the entire country. So whereas a lot of American kids could recognize their own neighborhood in Sesame Street, most Norwegian kids' neighborhoods looked entirely different. I myself grew up in Norway's second largest city, and I have never lived anywhere even slightly similar to Sesame Street.
That
so,
makes sense.
what could all these Norwegian children recognize? Well, Norway is a very mountainous country, with small communities popping up in valleys and fjords all over the country. There's roads between these communities, of course, and transport by air and sea. But Norway's extensive railway system, with its 696 tunnels and its 2,760 bridges, is an important part of the country's infrastructure. Most communities, even the smaller ones, had a train station. So the idea of Sesam Stasjon was conceived. A train station run by both humans and Muppets.
De aller fleste på denne stasjonen litt rare.
Both NRK and the NSB Railway Company was funded by the Norwegian government. So NSB provided Lørenskog Stasjon in Akershus as the outdoor set for the show's train station, as well as two modified EL10 train engines. The station and train engines were repainted in bright cheerful colors, and a small clock tower was erected on the side of the station, serving as a lookout post for one of the characters. NSB also painted two of their running passenger trains in the Sesam Stasjon colors, to the delight of children who spotted them all over the country. At one point, the whole Sesam Stasjon production crew had to visit New York to observe the production of Sesame Street itself. This to adhere to CTW's guidelines that the sets and costumes had to fit in with the styles of the original program. CTW also provided 3 original Muppets for Sesam Stasjon. These would have to be shipped back to New York whenever they needed to be cleaned, because the mechanism used to operate them was confidential. Before production could start on the first series of Sesam Stasjon, the Children's Television Workshop sent puppeteer and puppet maker Kermit Love to Norway in June of 1990, so that he could train the Norwegian puppeteers. The 3 original Muppets were Alpha, who runs the station kiosk, Bjarne Betjent, who runs the ticket booth, and Max Mekker, the train station mechanic. Alpha was the only female Muppet out of the 3, and played by Hanne Dahle. Alpha liked to read and write, both books and letters to and from her many pen pals from around the globe.
Dette blir helt fint! Og jeg synes jeg helt flink nok I dag.
Bjarne Betjent was a pink and rather human-looking hand puppet, played by Åsmund Husar. Bjarne was more pessimistic than the other Sesam Stasjon Muppets, and had some irrational fears and worries.
Hvor det blitt av skinnene? Hjelp! Jeg må øse!
Max Mekker was the biggest of the characters, being the only walk-around Muppet among the cast, and was played by Geir Børresen. Max, being the mechanic, was naturally good at fixing things.
Max Mekker, Mekker Max.
But his size also made him the muscle of the station, leaving him in charge of loading and unloading luggage and cargo. Rounding out the cast were two human characters, Station Master O. Tidemann and Leonora Dorothea Dahl. Station Master O. Tidemann was an older, grandpa-like character and was played by Sverre Holm, who was a famous Norwegian comedic actor, most known for his 14-film stint as bank robber Benny Fransen in the Norwegian Olsenbanden series between 1969 and 1999.
Yeah, tell me more about these. I always like to learn about movies, TV shows from different countries, so this obviously seems like it's, yeah, obviously 30 years, 14 movies. It seems like it's a bit of a big deal in Norway. Tell me, is it a good movie, serious? What have you got any specific favourites? And tell me more about it. Maybe I'll try and watch some clips from that if you know of any good scenes or anything like that. But already it says here it was insane, but it actually seems quite a good interpretation of Sesame Street. Makes it very accessible and relatable, being in that station in the middle of more rural Norway. Interesting, unique characters as well. I think it looks quite cool, man. Tell me if you ever watched it when it was on TV. Tell me how it was received in Norway as well.
Og I neste øyeblikk så kommer en politimann inn her og påstår at jeg tyv, og dette her tyvesaker.
Leonora Dorothea Dahl, played by Sissel Ryen, was formerly a world-famous singer, but she settled down at Sesam Stasjon as Tidemann's second-in-command. She still loved to sing and would often initiate musical numbers with the other characters.
Is that a real song?
The show premiered on NRK on the 25th of February 1991 to massive critical success and a large audience. That same year, Ada Haug, the program director who initiated the creation of Sesam Stasjon in 1987, changed position to be in charge of programming for young children, in conjunction with the premiere of Sesam Stasjon. She would stay in that position until she retired in 1998. Alongside the original Norwegian train station segments, the show also featured dubbed clips from Sesame Street. Voice actor Harald Mele was responsible for dubbing most of the Norwegian voices for the American characters. Some of the most popular recurring Sesame Street characters were Ernie and Bert, Grover, Cookie Monster, and Kermit the Frog.
Kermit Frosk her.
But the animated pinball number count segments also featured regularly. Sesam Stasjon was so popular that in August of 1991, Lørenskog train station was modified once again. This time, changes were made so that visiting kids could walk around inside the station. Kindergarten classes could take train trips to Sesam Stasjon from Oslo, and sometimes they would even be met by actors from the show, Max Mekker, or even full-body walk-around versions of the hand puppet characters.
I think this is actually pretty cool, man, especially for children, that they can actually get on the train, meet the characters. Yeah, it said it went from Oslo. Tell me if you know anybody that went on this. Did you ever go on it yourself? Was it must have been quite memorable, I guess.
NRK's original plan was to produce 77 episodes of Sesam Stasjon, but the program proved so successful that they entered into a new contract with CTW that would allow and require them to produce the show until 2001. But the original writer of the show, Eivind Skeie, only had a contract for the first 77 episodes, and decided to leave the show after his contract ran out. There would be many different writers to fill his shoes over the course of the next few years. Some of them famous Norwegian authors like Unni Lindell and Anne B. Ragde.
Jeg er en av flere forfattere som skriver om dere fra Sesam Stasjon.
Ja, men så rart da vet du liksom hele tiden hva jeg skal si da?
Over the course of the show, viewership eventually declined, although the show never became outright unpopular. In an attempt to engage a new batch of young viewers, the show introduced a new original Muppet to the cast. She hatched from an egg that had been left on a train, and took the name P. P looked like a red version of Alpha, but was also reminiscent of Elmo in that she was a toddler Muppet.
P hinke, P blinke, ja. P hinke, P blinke, P hinke, blinke, akkurat.
In 1998, it was decided that Sesam Stasjon had run its course on NRK and would be retired. NRK was still under contract with CTW to produce the series until 2001, but they decided to buy their way out of the contract instead of fulfilling it. The exact amount that had to be paid is unknown, but it was stated in an interview that NRK spent more on getting out of that contract than they saved on not having to produce the remaining episodes. The last new episode aired in the year 2000, but the show continued to air as reruns until 2004, after which NRK lost all remaining rights to show the footage. NRK would later negotiate a deal with Sesame Workshop in 2016, making 4 episodes of Sesam Stasjon available on NRK's web TV platform. But most of the other 239 episodes of the show is completely unavailable, with only a few having been released on VHS in the 90s, and a Christmas advent calendar show having been released on DVD. The show has never been made available as a full DVD box set, despite the potentially large amount of money NRK and Sesame Workshop could make if they were able to come to a reasonable agreement with each other about such a product. Nostalgia is easy to sell to people. There are many Norwegians who grew up with Sesam Stasjon in the 90s, and many of them would now jump at the opportunity of introducing the show to their own children. But even if just for archival purposes, I think the full run of the show should be made more available.
For sure.
Sesam
I
Stasjon
agree.
is an important part of Norway's pop cultural history, and it is baffling that such a small part of it is available to us. But I actually think we have a fair chance of changing that. If we can get this video in front of the right people, at both the Norwegian and the American sides of things, maybe they'll try to work something out. They certainly won't do anything without knowing that there's a demand for it. So please help me get this video seen by as many people as possible, either by sharing it with friends and on social media, or by liking, commenting and subscribing, which will cause YouTube to recommend the video to more people. Together, maybe we can free Sesam Stasjon from its copyright prison. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, that was a very interesting video. Norway's greatest Christmas movie classic. Maybe I'll need to check out some of these ones as well. Very good little mini documentary there about Norwegian Sesame Street. Yeah, shame that it's not available. Like, it seems a bit of a waste to make all those episodes, 10 years worth, to over 200 episodes, and just have none of them available. Just lost media, just lost to the world. I feel like kids would definitely like to watch it. I'm like someone, I've got young children. I'll usually let them watch older children's shows because they're less crazy, they're less like bright and bold, and they're not so overstimulating like modern cartoons and modern YouTube things are for children. So I usually let them my children watch things like Thomas the Tank Engine, Postman Pat, these old British cartoons that are just a bit more relaxing, a bit more informative, and definitely something like this would be great for Norwegian children, I think. Tell me what you think about it. Tell me if you remember it. Did you watch it when it was on TV? Do you think they should bring it back or make it available even? I don't know why it shouldn't be just stuck on some like streaming service like Netflix, something like that. Just allow people the option to choose to watch it. But tell me what you think about it. Thanks.